Football's golden oldies from the Toll House in Lancaster. Jack in his pomp. This talk is about Jack Rowley, but in the future I will address his younger brother Arthur. In his pomp, Jack Rowley was 5 foot 10 inches tall, with a playing weight of 12 stone 5 pounds and solidly built. He was a direct footballer, strong and physical, but with the talent to link the play and deliver passes from wide positions. As a left-footed player, he was adept at playing anywhere on the forward line. Many goalkeepers said the power in his shots was palpable, but his knack of shooting early with a short backlift often caught them by surprise, leading to many goals. His biggest virtue, though, as a footballer was the taking of chances. However, when interviewed, Jack would always give credit to his teammates, remaining humble and respectful at all times. One feature of his character was to never complain after a bruising game, as hard knocks were routinely dished out by defenders from that era, but Jack would always offer his hand in congratulation after the final whistle. He was a loyal teammate, so if any of his younger colleagues were being unfairly roughed up by the opposition, he would be first to offer a helping hand with his presence and physicality. He was humble though, as his granddaughter Nicola said that her granddad never talked about his stellar football career, unless asked, and even that then reluctantly, often playing down his own contribution. Released at 18 years of age, the young John, who became known as Jack within football circles, would leave school at 14 in the summer of 1933 and started work locally, as well as playing part-time football for Dudley Old Boys in the Wolverhampton League. Photo taken in the season 1935-36 with Jack sat on the floor far right. Although Jack would join Wolves as an amateur in October 1935, becoming one of the Buckley boys after the manager, Major Frank Buckley, who managed Wolves for 17 years from 1927 to 1944. Jack had a hernia operation aged 18 and was allowed to leave Wolves in 1937 by Major Buckley, who had a wonderful eye for a player, but on this occasion it perhaps let him down a little. The beginning of an illustrious career. John Frederick Rowley was born in Wolverhampton on October 7th, 1918. Jack Rowley is in the history books at Manchester United, but the goal-scoring legend and his brother Arthur are often forgotten about. As I said previously, he started his professional career in 1935 with Wolverhampton Wanderers. See photo on the right in the famous all-goal strip, although he never found a place in the first team and soon moved on to the Birmingham District League club Cradley Heath. In February 1937, he signed for Bournemouth and Boscombe Athletic, where he scored 10 goals in his first 11 games. He signed for Manchester United in 1937, joining from Bournemouth for a fee of £3,000. Just after he had turned 19, a signing pursued by the club's owner and chairman at the time, James Gibson, who was on holiday on the south coast. Manchester United were very fortunate to have an owner chairman who knew anything about football, and you would struggle to find one in the 21st century who had even played the game at the highest level. The chairman had a hunch. This was a very significant fee in pre-war football, especially when you consider that United's financial position at the time was precarious, with trading losses and a significant overdraft. However, Gibson was tipped off by Lewis Rocker, who also had a hunch about Jack when he saw him play and so backed his judgment, not for the first or last time. In respect of Manchester United, Rocker had a keen eye for talent. Throughout his business and football life, Gibson did not get many decisions wrong, and buying Jack Rowley proved a shrewd piece of business. Jack was known as the Gunner. It was nicknamed the Gunner because of his prolific goal scoring and explosive shooting, scoring 211 goals in 424 appearances for United, including FA Cups. His younger brother Arthur still holds the record for the highest number of career goals scored in the Football League with 434. Still only 19, Jack made his debut for the club on October 23, 1937 against Sheffield Wednesday, and in his second game he scored 4 goals against Swansea Town. The game against Swansea was instrumental in building his legend that is Jack Rowley, and was a truly unforgettable day for him and his very proud family, as in front of 18,000 fans, Jack scored 4 goals in a 5-1 victory, all from the left wing position. Jack played in the 2 Christmas games against Nottingham Forest, winning 4-3 and 3-2. And on New Year's Day he scored against Newcastle in a 2-2 draw in front of 40,000 at St James's Park. Having been in 14th place when Jack made his debut, but with his influence on the field, United climbed the league table and needed to beat local rivals Bury to confirm promotion, which they did 2-0 in front of a capacity 53,000 at Old Trafford. What a difference Jack made to United. He played in front of 18,000 fans on his debut and ended the season in front of 53,000 as the winning streak brought the fans back in their droves. The First Division beckons Jack. Still only 19 years old, Jack played 29 games, scoring 9 goals as Manchester United were promoted back to the First Division, where, apart from one season in the 1970s, they have been ever since. Although nobody knew it, the 38-39 season was the last full season before war was declared, but Manchester United went into it confident that they could consolidate at the highest level, despite having been relegated in their previous 2 seasons of top-flight football, 1931 and 1937. Jack was really looking forward to his first crack at Division 1, but the team started badly, winning just 1 of their first 6 games. But then a milestone arrived in Jack's career, as United beat Chelsea 5-1 at Old Trafford, with Jack scoring, and as you might expect it was a left foot shot across the goalkeeper, with 35,000 watching. Crowds had roughly doubled from the previous season to bring much needed financial stability and stem the losses. By the end of the season, Jack had enjoyed a highly satisfactory first full season as a Manchester United player in the First Division, making 38 appearances out of 42 games, scoring 10 goals and United finishing 14th, stabilising their position in Division 1 with decent crowds returning to Old Trafford. War declared, all league sport and entertainment suspended. That was the headline in the Daily Mail, and as a result, league football was suspended 3 fixtures into the 39-40 season, with those results and appearances being expunged from the records. Jack was called up on February 15, 1940, joining the South Staffordshire Regiment, and he posted to Worcester, about 30 miles south of Wolverhampton. He saw action in 1944, landing in Caen, France, a few days after D-Day, and was wounded during the heavy fighting during in that area. Jack was presented with a plaque at the end of his national service from the regiment to honour his sporting achievements whilst in service. In all, Jack served his country with distinction for 5 years and was posted all around the United Kingdom and Europe, but he rarely spoke about his service in subsequent years. Whenever Jack was on leave or between postings, he would return to Manchester to play with great success. In total, he played 78 times for his club in organised wartime league fixtures, scoring 101 goals, although these fixtures and goals do not count in any player's official career statistics. Old Trafford closed. In March 1941, Manchester played Bury and won 7-3, with Jack scoring a hat-trick, and it was to be the last game played at Old Trafford as the stadium was severely damaged following Luftwaffe bombing raids 3 days later. This followed a particularly severe dose of bombing on December 22, 1940, with the Manchester press reporting slight outbreaks of fire from a football ground and a training institute, which was called for it had taken a hell of a hammering. Further substantial bombing occurred on the nights of March 11th and 12th, 1941, causing Old Trafford to close, which meant that United used Main Road for 8 years, returning finally on August 24, 1949, ready for the 49-50 season. United chairman James Gibson persuaded the Government War Damage Commission to contribute £4,800 towards the cost of clearing the debris and a further £17,000 towards the cost of repairing the stands, with Gibson himself funding the remainder. In truth, Old Trafford had seen very little investment since it opened in 1910, as United struggled financially throughout the 1920s and 30s. Thus the need for rebuilding and refurbishing the ground had now been taken out of United's hands by the Luftwaffe. For the rest of the war and for 3 seasons after, Jack's home was Main Road, but he didn't care where he scored goals as long as it was on a football field with posts at either end. Serious courting. During this hectic schedule of serving his country and playing football, Jack still found time to do some serious courting, falling in love with an attractive young lady called Violet May Ward. The couple were married on February 22nd, 1942 at St. Luke's Church, Leakenhall, when Jack was 23 years old. The marriage was a happy one, with Jack becoming fiercely proud of his family and home life. By the time Jack clocked off at the end of the 41-42 season, he had scored 61 goals in 36 games for Manchester United. He found time to play for Wolves when on leave at his parents' home, scoring 5 against Everton on March 7th, whilst in May he scored 2 in the 4-1 second leg win against Sunderland in the Wartime League Cup final in front of 43,000 at Molineux. His next posting was in Belfast, Northern Ireland, a football-mad city. Belfast Distillery, a famous club. Once again, Jack scored a mountain of goals in the famous distillery white shirt and made his debut on March 28, 1942. He played for about a year wearing the white shirt with pride on 29 occasions, scoring 26 times. During the 42-43 season, he scored another 8 goals in 7 games for Man United, but these exploits were surpassed when Jack travelled home on short leave to play for Wolves. On November 21st, 1942, there was just one name in the goal-scoring column for Wolves. Jack scored all 8 goals in a remarkable 8-1 victory over Derby County. He loved playing for Wolves, and as you can imagine, he rued not playing professionally for them, being a local boy. Famous white shirt, then peace. Towards the end of the 42-43 season, Jack was ported to Kent for some invasion training, and this training was of paramount importance to prepare troops for the considerable danger ahead. As it played out, Jack played almost all of the 43-44 season in the famous white shirt of Spades, where he garnered 23 goals from 22 games, including 7 in an 8-1 win over Luton Town on February 12, 1944, and these goals led Spurs to the wartime Football League South Championship. As peace was declared, Jack toured with the army team to Italy in the summer of 1945, and the touring side included such luminaries as Joe Mercer, Tommy Lawton and Frank Swift, with the team being unkindly dubbed the Violin of football, as they offered entertaining football all across Italy for the troops to enjoy. Sadly for Jack, he was unable to play as he contracted dysentery and then a fever, with both requiring hospital treatment. Later Jack was to comment that the old saying, "See Naples and die," very nearly applied to him in real life. Thankfully, he recovered well and prepared for the second phase of his career as a professional footballer at the highest level, which would turn out to be his most rewarding. United Jack, 1946-55. In common with most clubs, the Second World War had seen Manchester United suffer several casualties, with some players and officials being killed or injured in action. Younger United players Carpenter and Curlis were killed, whilst Alan B. Chilton was wounded, whereas Johnny Hamlin was sent to a prisoner of war camp in Germany after being captured by the Italians, and TB claimed the life of talented young fullback Hubert Redwood. It would be years before normality resumed. Old Trafford needed to be rebuilt and rationing was still prevalent until the early 1950s. With ration coupons being issued for clothing, United put out an appeal for unwanted or unused coupons for them to acquire training kit for their players to use. Building materials were also tightly rationed and controlled by the authorities, with preference rightly being given to the building of millions of new homes that were needed. Sports grounds therefore had to wait a little while longer until materials became available. Now a married man, Jack's family needed somewhere to live, so the club provided a property in Sale, Cheshire, at 61 Brylands Avenue, at a rent of £2 a week, deducted from Jack's wages of £10 a week, plus £2 win bonus or £1 draw bonus. And over the next 9 seasons, United won more than they lost. Season 46-47. Matt Busby received advice regarding Jack Rowley from the biography of Busby, that's when I learned this, that he had a reputation for being difficult to handle, as he was sparky and straight-talking. Many years later, Busby would say that he did not have 1 minute's problem with Jack, as they developed a high level of mutual respect over the almost 9 seasons they worked together. Nobody had a clue as to how the season would develop. However, United were about to embark on a golden spell with Jack in prime form, scoring in each of United's first 5 fixtures to put United at the pinnacle of the First Division. As the season reached its conclusion, a 1-0 defeat at eventual champions Liverpool on May 3rd, 1947 meant that Jack and his teammates finished second to the Anfield outfit, 1 point behind. United had a great attacking season, scoring 95 league goals, with Jack contributing 26 of them as well as netting a further 2 in the FA Cup, making 28 in total from 39 games, and he was now regarded as being one of the best attacking players in the country. Having established themselves as credible title holders, challengers, the 1947-48 season was wholly memorable for Jack and Manchester United, as the club finally secured their first trophy for 45 years in the FA Cup, as well as finishing in the runners-up spot in the First Division. Season 1947-48. United drew 2-2 at Middlesbrough, and then followed this up by putting 6 past Charlton Athletic, with Jack scoring 4. However, they then went 9 games without a win. Busby was reported to be hugely unimpressed with this run and determined to improve his team defensively, making tactical training over the next few weeks a real focus. United recovered well, and from October 25th until the end of the season they only suffered 4 further defeats, finishing runners-up for the 2nd consecutive season, this time to Arsenal. Jack, pitch and right, scored 23 goals in 39 games and played a full part in an enterprising and entertaining United team, watched by over 2.5 million paying spectators over the whole season. But it was in the FA Cup where United excelled, starting their run at Villa Park on January 10th, 1948. Villa scored after 12 seconds, but United struck back to lead 5-1 at half-time. Then Villa scored 3 to make it 5-4 before Stan Pearson scored late in the game in front of 59,000 fans. The road to Wembley. In the 4th round, United beat Liverpool at home in front of 74,000 at Goodison Park, as Main Road was not available. The 5th round saw another roller goal in a 2-0 win over Charlton Athletic, played at Leeds Road in Huddersfield. The quarter-final stage saw United face Preston at Main Road in front of 74,000 fans, with Jack scoring late on to clinch a 4-2 victory. In the semi-final against Derby County at Hillsborough on March 13th, a Stan Pearson goal took United through to the final at Wembley. The lead up to the final was dominated by the Matthews factor, as at 33 years old, most felt it might be Stanley Matthews' last FA Cup final. The authorities felt that the tangerine of Blackpool clashed with the red of Manchester United, so both teams played in their change colours, Blackpool wearing white shirts and black shorts, and United wearing royal blue shirts and white shorts. Before the final, Busby and Murphy were concerned about the threat from Blackpool's right wing, with the outstanding Matthews and Mortensen in prime form. As such, they instructed goalkeeper Jack Crompton to always keep the ball down United's right side, keeping the ball away from Blackpool's danger men, and they instructed United's left winger, the great Charlie Mitten, to track back when Blackpool attacked down the right. Manchester United's lineup included 3 members of the MUJAC, Aston, Minton and Pearson, that was started in 1937, with the team being Jack Crompton, Johnny Carey captain, John Aston, John Anderson, Alan Mitchell and Henry Coburn, Jimmy Delaney, Johnny Morris, Jack Rowley, Stan Pearson and Charlie Moore. The big match. Blackpool started the stronger, taking the lead after 12 minutes from the penalty spot after Mortensen was fouled by Chilton, although images emerged later that showed the challenge to be outside the box. The penalty was scored by Blackpool's right back, Eddie Shimwell, although Crompton should have done better as footage from behind the goal showed him diving over the ball. Jack Rowley equalised after 28 minutes, pouncing on a defensive mistake that allowed him to nip in to flick the ball over the keeper into an empty net. Stan Mortensen, who had previously scored in every round, struck again for the Seasiders with a close-range cross shot after 35 minutes, and it was 2-1 to Blackpool at half-time. Mark Busby and Jimmy Murphy told the team at the break, "Keep playing your football and it will come, but take better care of the ball when in possession." The second half was very special, with highly skilled football from both sides, with Blackpool competing well with excellent passing throughout. However, the pulsating final 20 minutes from Manchester United garnered 3 goals to take the game beyond Blackburn. Firstly, Rowley equalised on 70 minutes with a smart header into the top corner from a quickly taken free kick taken by Morris, allowing Jack to drift behind Hayward and Shimwell as they hesitated on the cross. Wonderful victory in a dramatic final. In a whirlwind finish, goals in the last 10 minutes from Stan Pearson and John Anderson gave United a pulsating win in a final recalled as one of the best ever for quality and drama, as United became the first club to come from behind twice to win a Wembley FA Cup final. It was their first FA Cup triumph since 1909 that was won at Crystal Palace, meaning this victory was their first at the home of English football. Blackpool manager Joe Smith decided not to select Jimmy McIntosh for the final, despite McIntosh having scored 5 goals in the 5 ties leading up to the final. The two sides met in a rearranged league fixture the Monday after the Wembley final, when McIntosh was selected to play for Blackpool, who won 1-0 with McIntosh scoring the winner. About 300 miles away in the streets of Ashington, a 10-year-old boy was listening on his radio to the cup final when he heard the commentator say it was one of the greatest cup finals ever, and so from that point on the lad wanted to be a footballer and, more importantly, play for Manchester United. It's fair to say he achieved both ambitions, as that boy was Robert Charlton, who gave over 70 years service to the sport at club, national and international level, becoming crucial to England and Manchester United in the years following, and would become one of only 3 players to pass Jack Rowley in the United goal scoring chart. Another excellent season. Many consider the FA Cup win to be the catalyst for the modern Manchester United, as Busby and Murphy began to build a dynasty, and United historians often regard the 2 goals that Jack Rowley scored as being 2 of the most important in the club's history, in the sense that they helped win the club's first trophy for many years and set up what followed, more silverware in every decade since. England season 48-49 was another excellent one for United as they finished runners-up in the First Division for the third season running, this time to a very accomplished Portsmouth Football Club. Jack enjoyed another excellent season, scoring 29 goals and made his England debut on December 2nd, 1948 against Switzerland at Highbury, winning 6-0 with debuts for Ditchburn, Ramsey, Rowley, JTW, Haynes and Hancock's. Goals from Rowley, Haynes 2, Hancock's 2 and Milburn. With England looking for a successor to Wilf Mannion, the selectors brought in John Haynes of West Bromwich Albion, and the report on the game said the biggest success of the new boys was John Haynes, and England searching for a replacement for Wilf Mannion seemed to have found the answer, as the inside left made a very impressive debut, showing plenty of imagination and flair. It was typical of the selectors who chose their favourites over anyone else than John Thomas William Haynes, who played with imagination and flair, never played for England again. Another international cap. Played on Sunday, May 22nd, 1949 at the Cologne Stadium in Paris. England's team was Williams Wolves, debut Ellington Southampton, Aston Man United, Wright Wolves, Franklin Stoke, Dickinson Portsmouth, Finney Preston, Morris Derby County, Rowley Manchester United, Mannion Middlesbrough, Moreland Wolves. England won the game 3-1 with goals from Morris 2 and Wright. Neil Franklin, England's best defender, would play at Hampden Park, Glasgow on April 15, 1950 before flying to Bogota, Colombia, and was ostracised from football on his return. Jack plays for England at Main Road. On Wednesday, November 16, 1949, England faced Northern Ireland at Main Road, Manchester. England team: Stretton, Luton, Mosley Derby, Aston Man United, Watson Sunderland, Franklin Stoke City, Wright Wolves. Captain: Finney Preston, Mortensen Blackpool, Rowley Manchester United, Pearson Manchester United, Froggatt Portsmouth. England put in a most impressive and fluent performance in dispatching Northern Ireland 9-2 with goals from Rowley 4, Pearson 2, Mortensen 2 and Froggatt. Tom Finney conjured up some sheer magic as he tormented the Irish defence, and poor Matt Michael did not know which way to turn. The top photo shows Jack Rowley walking the ball into the net. The bottom photo was taken at the Brighton and Hove Albion ground where England were training prior to the game. Mosley came in for Ramsey, Williams was unfit and Mortensen was missing from the photograph. Defending the FA Cup. As holders, United were keen to defend the FA Cup, and in the third round they drew Jack's previous team of Bournemouth and Boston Athletic at home on January 8, 1949, winning easily by 6-0 in front of 55,000 at Main Road, with Jack netting a brace of goals. The fourth round saw United draw with Bradford Park Avenue, watched by a huge 83,000 spectators. The replay was drawn 1-1, so a third fixture was necessary on February 7th, watched by 70,000, who saw United triumph by 5-0. United were in the fifth round, where they were drawn at home to renowned FA Cup giant killers non-league Yeovil Town. On the day of the game, factory factories were closed in the Somerset towns as 6,000 fans travelled to Manchester on special trains. Once again, a colossal 82,000 jammed into Main Road to witness United thrash their opponents 8-0, with Jack helping himself to 5 goals. It was reported that all the United players went respectively back to their positions after each goal, with no celebrations, out of respect for their spirited opponents. At the final whistle, all 11 Yeovil players lined up to shake Jack's hand in recognition of and mutual respect for a master craftsman and a truly wonderful footballer. The crowd too played their part, staying behind to cheer Yeovil off the pitch, who returned to Somerset a bit richer thanks to the shared proceeds of great receipts. This is what the game used to be, and a great example of why I fell out of love with the game, because what you witnessed after the game with Yeovil Town, Manchester United and the crowd showed respect for their opponents, making Busby and Murphy feel proud. So near, yet so far. In the 6th round, United won 1-0 against Hull City at Booth Ferry Park in front of 55,000 fans, which included 15,000 who had travelled from Manchester on 16 special football trains. The semi-final against Wolves was played at Hillsborough in front of a huge crowd of 62,000, and in a closely fought contest the final score was 1-1 after extra time. And sadly for United, they lost the replay at Goodison Park 1-0 to a goal from Sammy Smythe in front of 73,000 spectators. Following the war, football was a real focus of recovery for the population, and United attracted 510,000 spectators for their 8 FA Cup fixtures. That's an average of 63,700 per game. Boom times indeed for English football. They have claimed 3 consecutive runners-up positions, but were United talented enough to claim the title, and during the summer the authorities gave the all clear for the rebuilt Old Trafford to be used once again, allowing United to return to their spiritual home in Stretford. Matt Busby and Jimmy Murphy were also busy rebuilding, signing Tommy Bogan and Ray Wood, while selling Johnny Morris to Derby County for a then world record fee of £24,000. Jack Rowley, though, remained an integral part of the United team as they continued to play fast, attractive football, scoring plenty of goals throughout the new season. 2-month tour of North America. At the end of the season, Manchester United went on a tour of North America, partly to develop the sport in that part of the world. The tour laid the groundwork for United to become the global brand we know today, where they are the most popular non-American sports club in the country. By the end of the tour, United had played 12 games, winning 8, drawing 2 and losing 2, with Jack contributing 10 goals out of the United's overall total of 47. It was a hugely successful first excursion for United to North America, and it wouldn't be long before the return. The photograph was from the game in Canada on May 12, 1950, where United beat the National Soccer League team 5-0. Return to league football 1950-51. After returning from their tour, the 1950-51 season followed much the same pattern as previous years. Once again, United finished as runners-up this time to the wonderful push and run Tottenham Hotspur team under Arthur Rowe, and quarter-finalists in the FA Cup, defeating Oldham Athletic, Leeds United and Arsenal before falling to Birmingham City at St Andrews. Jack was a little less prolific, scoring just 15 goals, but he did score the winner in the top of the table clash with Spurs in January 1951, as United chased Tottenham all season. Their runners-up spot was their fourth second-place finish in 5 seasons, and despite these disappointments, United were now a model of consistency, with many extended runs in the FA Cup, and were considered one of the best teams in the land, with Jack Rowley at its heart. With the new season imminent, the FA Cup winning team from 1948 was beginning to be broken up, and it was questionable as to whether Manchester United could go one better and win the First Division title. Jack entered the season as a 32-year-old senior player, turning 33 in October, and a player's effectiveness often dipped at this age due to a poor diet, drinking alcohol and inhaling nicotine. That was hardly an issue for Jack, as he was a very moderate drinker, was a non-smoker apart from his Christmas cigar, and he looked after himself by completing additional fitness work. Clubs from this era often released players in their early 30s, but the opposite happened as Jack was revitalised, enjoying the season of his life, as United swept to the title with style and panache. A liberated Jack Rowley, back at centre forward, was at its heart, as he contributed 30 league goals in a truly wonderful season that saw Roger Byrne, Jackie Blanchflower, Mark Jones and Jeff Whitefoot break into the first team. Jack would regularly begin a season in blistering fashion, and this one was no exception, as he scored in 6 of the first 7 games, with 3 goals at West Brom, 3 against Middlesbrough, 1 against Newcastle, 2 at Middlesbrough, 2 against Charlton and 3 against Stoke. A league championship at last. The third round defeat to Hull City in the FA Cup at Boothbury Park in front of 43,000 was disappointing, but it allowed United to concentrate solely on the league. United went into the last game against Arsenal top of the league, with the Gunners able to overrule them if they won 7-0 at Old Trafford, and the Arsenal directors sent a congratulations telegram 7 days earlier. Despite the title being already won, United wanted to finish on a high, and boy did they do that, crushing Arsenal 6-1 in front of 54,000 expectant fans at Old Trafford. Arsenal were depleted due to 2 early injuries, including one to goalkeeper George Swindon, as they finished the game with 9 men, but this was United's day and season. Jack played centre forward and scored after 8 minutes, with further goals from Pearson and Byrne, making it 3-0 at half-time. Jack completed his hat-trick with 2 further goals to make it 30 for the season, with Stan Pearson grabbing his second to complete United's score. Foreign fields beckon. Manchester United won 23 of their 42 league fixtures that season to garner 57 points, 4 more than both Tottenham and Arsenal, who finished 2nd and 3rd respectively, scoring 95 goals, conceding 52 during an excellent season. Was Busby and Murphy hoped more titles would follow, as there was a wonderful crop of young talent developing that would soon replace some of the more senior players. 2 years after their first successful tour to North America, Manchester United returned once again, only this time as champions of England. The photo is June 15, 1952 at Yankee Stadium, with Jack sat on the floor, extreme right. A long, hard tour. The tour kicked off on May 9, 1952, playing New Jersey, Philadelphia, Montreal, Chicago, and back-to-back encounters with Atlas Football Club, who had given United a tough game 2 years previously, and both games were played with an undercurrent of physicality, which caused some concern to Jack after a hefty challenge left him reeling. Seeking revenge, Jack had to be restrained by United captain Johnny Carey, who managed to calm him down before serious retribution was committed. The final leg of a long tour were 2 games against Tottenham Hotspur. The champions of 1951-52 met the champions of 1950-51, a real treat for American fans of English football. The first fixture in Toronto on June 14 saw Spurs win easily 5-0 in front of 25,000 spectators, and 24 hours later in New York, Tottenham embarrassed United once again, winning 7-1 in front of another large crowd of 25,000, with Jack netting United's goal, his 18th goal of another successful tour. Spurs in those days were managed by Arthur Rowley, who devised a wonderful way of playing, and but for illness causing his tenure as manager of Spurs to be cut short, he might have taken Spurs into the 1960s. Jack's family of 5. Despite the disappointing end to the tour, Jack had enjoyed an eventful 12 months. He won the First Division Championship, he gained his 6th and final England cap with 6 goals, and had enjoyed a successful tour of North America. The icing on the cake came when he became a father for the 3rd time, when Violet presented him with a daughter to complete the family of 5. Manchester United would go back to the USA in 1960 and have since become regular guests, and with Jack very much at the heart of the first 2 tours, he would later comment he was forever grateful that his football prowess gave him the opportunity to see the world. Would Jack be first choice centre forward? Jack began season 52-53 knowing that the sands of time were not on his side, and although he remained incredibly fit, he missed 3 months from November to February with an injury, playing in 26 games in total, mainly on the left wing, as Busby used Tommy Taylor, the outstanding young centre forward, signed from Barnsley, as his number 9. In fact, with the introduction of Taylor and Violet into the team, Jack would never again wear the number 9 shirt, but he still contributed 11 goals as United finished in 8th place. The following season saw Busby and Murphy continue to integrate young players into the team, and despite his age, Jack played in 36 of the 42 league games, returning a tally of 12 goals behind top scorer Tommy Taylor with 22 goals. Season 54-55 proved to be Jack Rowley's last in the red at Manchester United, and time was running out for him when he scored his last league goal in the 3-1 win against Leicester City at Old Trafford on December 4th, 1954, and in the opposition team was his younger brother Arthur. He had finally met in a top-flight fixture. They celebrated with dinner that evening in Manchester, where no doubt the topic of conversation would have been the future career options available to Jack. New horizons, new challenges. It is a tribute to his fitness, resolve and consistency of performance that Jack was the last of the first grade Busby team from seasons 46 to 48 to move on. His role as the link between the old and the new was played to perfection and without complaint, despite being asked to change positions regularly. Less than 2 weeks after his final appearance for United, Jack was in Devon with a different challenge lying ahead of him. After an 18-year association at Old Trafford, Jack left Manchester United with the eventual blessing of Matt Busby, who had wanted him to remain at the club to develop the outstanding crop of young players coming through the ranks, as Busby saw Jack as an ideal youth coach. Jack had studied for his coaching qualifications, which was rare at that time, and although he was tempted by Busby's vision, Jack wanted a crack at management, which Busby understood. In view of the long service Jack had given the club, Busby granted him a free transfer, even though Arsenal had made a bid for Jack a few weeks previously. And it was a great gesture by Busby, as Manchester United were still not blessed financially. A brief summary of life after Manchester United. Jack Rowley, 211, is one of the only 4 players in the history of Manchester United to score over 200 goals for the club. The others being Bobby Charlton, 249, Dennis Law, 237, and Wayne Rooney, 253. Jack left the club in 1955 with the blessing of Matt Busby to become player manager of Plymouth Argyle, later going on to manage Oldham Athletic, gaining promotion to the 3rd Division in 1963. From there, he went on to manage Dutch club Ajax for the 63-64 season, before returning to Britain to manage Wrexham and Bradford Park Avenue, followed by a second spell at Oldham, where he finished his managerial career in December 1969. Jack played on at Plymouth Argyle from 1955 to 57, appearing in 58 matches and scoring 15 goals to add to his tally before hanging up his lethal boots for good. Rowley was also capped 6 times for England, scoring 6 goals, 4 of which came against Northern Ireland on November 16, 1949. But this was in the days when if your face didn't fit, you would not be selected. Len Shackleton would be a prime example of this inadequate system that was only ended when the General, Alf Ramsey, took over and won the World Cup in 1966. Between 1948 and 1954, Shackleton won only 5 caps as a selector. When questioned over Shackleton's absence from the England team, replied, "We play at Wembley Stadium, not the London Palladium." Jack the manager, 1955 to 69. Following the sacking of popular manager Jimmy Ray in February 1955, Plymouth Argyle were looking for a replacement, and Jack viewed the opportunity to manage a struggling Division 2 club as a real challenge. On February 11, 1955, the Western Evening Herald ran a report of an interview with Jack, who was emphatic that if he took on the job, he was not interested in being a player manager, but he would consider helping out for a month or 2 and then revert to a non-playing role. Jack was interviewed in London on February 16th before returning home to Cheshire. He trained with United in the morning of Contracts were signed as a player and a manager before Bert Cole, the secretary, gave him a £10 cheque as a player signing on fee, joking the cheque would not bounce, and this remark was closer to the financial mark than Jack could ever have imagined. He met his new team early that evening before the following day's away fixture at Fulham, where they were 2-0 down after 20 minutes before Jack started to exert his influence on the game. According to the local press, when Jack passed the ball, it arrived at the intended recipient with precision, accuracy and caused danger. Goals from Eric Davis and Malcolm Davis level matters. Before on the hour, Jack opened up the Fulham defence for Peter Anderson to complete the comeback. Life in Devon. It was Plymouth's first away win of the season and the first of 3 straight victories that steadied the decline that started 12 months ago. Jack travelled back to Manchester to collect his family and take them to Devon, where they would settle in Seymour Road, Plymouth, with the family saying later that they had a wonderful 5 years in Plymouth in a beautiful part of the country. Argyle won 7 of the 13 games that Jack was in charge, and he had clearly improved morale and confidence within the team, who had reacted well to their new manager. The 55-56 season saw Jack using extensive contacts in the game to recruit a raft of players from the fringes of First Division clubs, including Newman, Carter, Jackson, Kirby and Jimmy Gold, who would be imprisoned in 1963 for his role in the betting scandal that rocked football and implicated Peter Swan, David Lane and Tony Kay. Jack also recruited Wilf Carter, who was an excellent acquisition, as he went on to score 134 goals in 254 games over a 7-year stay at Home Park. Division 3 South. Jack made an excellent start to his first full season by scoring 6 of their first 13 goals, but despite the goals, Argyle only won 2 of their first 13 games, showing up many defensive deficiencies. Many Plymouth fans still recall their bizarre Christmas fixtures, when Argyle beat high-flying Bristol City 5-0 at home on Boxing Day, only to lose 6-0 at Ashton Gate the following day, mainly due to the goalkeeper, Welsh international Bill Shaw, having overdone the Christmas celebrations. Jack realised early on that the team he had inherited was simply not good enough for the second division. It was a desperately poor season. The club was penniless, and it would be down to Jack to find some experienced players released by their clubs as past their best, but good enough for the third division south. The 56-57 season got off to an awful start, with 5 straight defeats, and Argyle ended their calendar year in 24th place, rock bottom of the third division south. But then a cracking 5-0 home win over local rivals Exeter City took them off the bottom of the league. Thereafter, Argyle gradually worked their way up to finish 17th, the club's worst ever finish as a football league team. But there was light at the end of the tunnel in the form of a new owner. A new board at Home Park. Off the field, financial matters had come to an end. The club had debts of £58,000, but had just £760 in the bank. But newspapers had been reporting that a £30,000 buyout was on the cards. At an EGM on April 19, 1956, The offer was accepted and a new board formed under shoe magnate Ron Blindle, a forthright businessman who immediately made it clear who was in charge. Jack was told to improve results and to stop playing immediately and concentrate solely on team selection, training and coaching, as well as being offered a £2,000 bonus if he had achieved promotion the following season, 57-58. Initially, the arrival of Ron Blindle was a real turning point in Jack's managerial fortunes, as Blindle forged an immediate strong relation with the thriving Plymouth Argyle Supporters Club, who were happy to hand over all of the profits they made to the parent club, particularly to underwrite most transfer fees. With his myriad of contacts, Jack set about finding the players needed to form a side capable of winning promotion. Harry Penn from Portsmouth, keeper Jeff Barnsley from West Brom, and Bryce Fulton and Tommy Barrett from Manchester United Central League side. Into the new third division, but tragic news from Manchester. By the end of September, Argyle led the division, and by the turn of the year, they were in 5th spot. The second half of the season proved hugely successful, as they only lost 4 of the final 20 games. The Brentford and Brighton fixture took place on April 28th, with the home side winning, taking the top spot from Argyle, and when Brighton won their final game, they finished in 2nd place, pushing Plymouth down to 3rd. In the final season of regional 3rd-tier divisions in English football, Argyle easily qualified for the new 3rd division, and the chairman was delighted with the progress Jack had made, telling him to continue recruiting players from 1st division reserve teams. In recognition of his stellar playing career, the Plymouth board offered him a testimonial against Sunderland that took place in April 1958, with Argyle winning 3-0. But the season had been a troubling one for Jack due to an incident that took place over 900 miles away in Munich in February 1958. On Thursday, February 6, at about 4:30 p.m, Jack took a telephone call in his office from a Manchester news agency, informing him that the plane carrying United players had crashed in Munich with many casualties. Jack never really recovered from the Munich disaster. Jack was stunned, with the news having a profound impact on him. He loved these lads and was privileged to coach them on their journey through Mujak, and even found happiness when they replaced him in the team as the sands of time ran out on him. Outwardly, Jack was a hard man who would see the impact of war close up. But Munich affected him badly, and his daughter Susan said, "I don't think Dad had ever got over Munich completely." The new season was Jack's 4th full season in charge, and will live long in the memory of all Argyle fans, as the famous club in green stormed back to Division 2 as champions, losing just 7 games all season. Behind the scenes, there had been a falling out in the boardroom, as Blindle had been deposed by his 4 directors after a stormy AGM in November. In 1959-60, Blindle returned to the board, but was too ill to attend meetings, and with Jack scouting for players, the decision was taken to sack Jack because of Argyle slipping into the relegation zone. But as it happened, Plymouth survived, finishing in 19th position. For the first time in his career, Jack was out of work but left with a settlement of £2,000, 44,000 in today's money, and the family returned to their spiritual home. When Jack returned home after being sacked, he explained everything to his wife and family. The children promptly went upstairs to the bedrooms, bringing back down their money boxes to help their parents, a lovely gesture, but one that upset Jack and Violet somewhat. Summer of 1960, Jack appointed manager of Oldham Athletic. Jack was appointed manager of Oldham Athletic, who were at a very low ebb in their history, needing the 10 directors to each pay £250 shares to save the club from going out of existence. The gates had dwindled to about 7,000 as the club finished second bottom in Division 4, with only 8 wins out of 46 games played, and needed to apply for re-election along with articles. Jack made an interesting yet a ruthless start to his new job by releasing 8 players to allow for some recruitment, and he managed to sign Jimmy Frizzell from Morton, Bobby Johnson from Hibernian, and Bert Lister from Manchester City. It took time for the new boys to settle. However, 4 wins out of 6 in October showed promise, and by December they won 8 games on the trot, which propelled them to a mid-table position, and the gates had almost doubled to an average of 12,300, bringing much needed finance into the club. Following the previous season's improvements, hopes were high for the 61-62 season, but defensively they conceded 70 goals to finish in 11th place. But an excellent run in the FA Cup took them to a plumb tie in the 4th round against Liverpool, in front of 42,000 crammed into Boundary Park, who saw 2 goals from Ian St John take Liverpool through 2-1. Jack, the straight talker, is sacked. After 2 seasons of steady progress, Chairman Frank Armitage issued a promotional bus message to Jack and his players, and in a truly memorable campaign, the team responded brilliantly by securing runners-up spot behind champions Brentford to give Jack his second promotion as a manager with 2 different clubs. A memorable season for Oldham soon turned sour when discontent surfaced behind the scenes, with certain directors wanting more control over team matters, which of course upset Jack, who was not willing to comply, and as a result the board of 10 decided to hold a vote to determine Jack's future. Incredibly, the result went against Jack by 6 votes to 4, and he was bizarrely sacked on May 11, 1963, causing Jack to say, "Perhaps it's because I'm a straight talker. Some people do not like that." After a successful 3-season spell at Oldham, with another promotion added to his CV, Jack's next move shocked the football world. He was hired by Ajax of Amsterdam to be their head coach. It was an interesting adventure for Mr. Rowley, as he was known by the Ajax fans, and his spell in Amsterdam was relatively uneventful, finishing 4th in the Dutch league, but Jack's legacy was his focus on the club's youth policy, which paid huge dividends 8 years later when they won the European Cup for 3 successive years, from 1971 to 73. And at the end of the season, Jack was replaced with another Englishman, Vic Buckingham, formerly of Tottenham, who gave Johan Cruyff his debut. The final curtain. In the early part of 1962, while still at Oldham, Jack decided to buy a house/shop newsagents on on Buckstones Road, which he ran with Violet, alongside his footballing duties, and following his Ajax adventure, he was unable to find a new managerial role in football, so he extended his business by applying for and gaining a post office licence, with Violet becoming postmistress. As the new year of 1966 was heralded in, Wrexham Football Club were in free fall in the bottom two of Division 4, and as a result they appointed Jack on a 2.5-year contract. The results improved by securing 22 points from 24 games, but not enough to prevent them from having to apply for re-election. With some savvy recruitment in the summer of 1966, they stayed in touch with the top two teams, with an outside chance of promotion. But in March 1967, Bradford Park Avenue offered Jack £3,000 a year plus a club car to take over, one of the best salaries outside the top flight. Jack stayed until September 1968, when he was approached by Oldham Athletic chairman Ken Bates to take over once again, but a disappointing season saw Jack sacked in December 1969, and this was his last position as a football club manager. Now aged 51, he had enjoyed a 36-year career as player and manager. He was philosophical about it, saying, "I enjoyed it all, playing and managing, but all good things come to an end." The gunner was a private man. After his retirement from the game that had given him so much, Jack Rowley was a private man, turning down invitations to football events as well as rejecting complimentary tickets at Old Trafford to avoid being fussed over. But if Jack Rowley, who died in 1998, aged 79, is a footnote in the modern history of United, it hasn't always been that way, because at the age of 72, he was finally tempted back to a gala dinner at Old Trafford, but only after his grandson Christian convinced him to go, and the photograph shows them both together. Christian said, "On the night of the event, a friend and I collected Grandad in my car, and Sir Matt Busby was the guest speaker at the dinner, and was ecstatic to see my Grandad, who greeted Busby with, 'Hello boss, how are you?' recalls Christian. During Matt Busby's speech, I saw Alex Ferguson enter the room. He headed straight over to Grandad, shook his hand and said, 'It's fantastic to see you after all these years.' Later that evening, Sir Alex returned, and during the conversation with Grandad, he turned to me and said, 'Do you realise how good your father was? He's a big part of the history of this club, and was my favourite player of all time.' That statement stood the test of time, as Sir Alex Ferguson returned from World Cup commentating duties in France to attend my Grandad's funeral, who, after suffering from Alzheimer's disease for a number of years, passed away in 1998. Was Jack the greatest Manchester United centre-forward? Jack Rowley jumps highest head home during the 1948 FA Cup final at Wembley. You can see that in the photograph. He was 21 in 1939 when World War II began, and he started playing again in 1946. 6 years lost between the ages of 21 and 27. Prime years for a centre-forward. Let's speculate that he would have scored 20 goals a season, a very conservative estimate. 120 goals to add to his total of 182 equals 302 in total in 380 games. Let's be a little more adventurous and say 30 goals a season times 6 equals 180